Hey y'all, welcome back. It's Tuesday Night Live, and I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to share with you guys what I'm about to share with you now. The uh, the heading is not clickbait, and I hope you guys got to see the picture that was on the front of my show beforehand. And if you hadn't, I'm going to show that to you now. And it's a picture of graffiti. It says, "I'm scared too, but we'll make it." Um, this is going to be different. First of all, I want to welcome you here to my show. I have a live show every Tuesday night. We talk about random things, mostly homesteading, some preparedness, and some other stuff like that. And I'm going to clarify some stuff here up here in a minute, so everybody can get past what the title is and figure out what exactly is going on. But before I dive into tonight's show, I just want to say Megan's not here tonight. She is. She's in the other room. Uh, she had herself a little comical incident uh, and tried to kill herself. No, I'm just kidding. It's been raining here forever in a day, off and on, thunderstorms crazy here in North Carolina. And she slipped and fell off our back porch onto the back steps. And so she's sore. She's a little hurt. She bruised her ribs pretty good. Luckily, she didn't break them. And so she's recovering from that. And so she's like, "What are you going to talk about tonight?" And I said, "Well, maybe it's time to get down and a little serious about some stuff." I did prepare some notes so I can get this through to you correctly. Uh, so, without, so Kitty's here, Chip Signal's here. Chip, you're gonna really appreciate this. We met on a different channel, and I think this is gonna be more up your alley. Christy Betts, welcome. Sub, welcome. MG Ibarra, hi. Glad you're here. Sorry, Megan's not here. We did get your last letter the last time you sent something. I don't know if she's written back to you, but I'll remind her that you were here tonight. Yeah, she hurt. She hurts. Incense shops. Glad you're here. This is for you guys here on the live stream, and this is also because it's going to be replayed after it. That this show has such a serious topic. Again, I made some notes, and I'm going to read off of them to get this first part right for you guys. And it says, It's time, folks. It's time for me to tell you what's been on my shoulders for a very long time. Something that I've wanted to share with all of you, but have been afraid to say out loud. Our channel is mainly supporting homesteading and self sufficiency. This is a show about doing this and that to save time and money to make you feel more accomplished about doing it yourself. This has all been a setup to graduate you all to and everyone into what my primary goal has been. Now, I've been online a couple of years now, and there's always been an underlying achievement to what I want to accomplish. Um, and to put it short, is to prepare you for what's coming next. And it's going to get a little serious because this is a serious topic. And this is just one part of that topic that I want to talk to you about tonight. I wake up every morning terrified that this may be the day that something happens. That not only in myself, but the majority of the people I know and I care for have a feeling in the pit of their stomachs that something is going to happen. Something's going on, and something is not right, and something's going to happen soon. I don't want to get you guys terrified. I don't have any inside information or anything like that. This is something that I wake up every morning literally going, what is going to happen today that can cause the next big whatever? So the question is, and the answer is, there is no answer for that question. It could be anything. I want to share with you what I carry in my pocket every day to remind me of what needs to happen so that when this day comes, that day does come, when something does happen, you can't say, I didn't tell you. And I can't deny myself that I didn't have enough time to prepare for what's going to happen. This is kind of specific if you're in the workforce, If you are under the age of 60, and even if you're above the age of 60, this will impact you. Um, so, if you're a part of the workforce, meaning that you're not retired, or if you're under the age of 50, and even if you're past 60, you need to pay close attention to what I've passed on to folks via this card that's in my wallet. So I'm going to show you guys the front of this card. And before we do, I'm going to stop in and say hey to Common Man. Uh, and I will pass your regards to Megan and go from there. So this is my wallet. It's thick, of course. Carry it in my back pocket, which you shouldn't because it's supposed to be bad for your back. But I do anyway. I'm a dude. What do you expect? So I carry these cards in my wallet. I've only shown it to a couple people that I know personally, or actually more closer on YouTube, but I think it's time to bring it out to show you guys exactly what's going on. This card is so important because it's about your future, it's about my future, and the years ahead, and what you have to look forward to, and what you have to prepare for now. Now is the time, and I'm not trying to scare anybody. I know Brad from Full Spectrum Survival always had that beard, right? He said, dude, people, if I ever shave off this beard, you know something. Beard, you know something's going to happen. It's not like that. But it is. So, I'm going to show you the front of this card. And it looks something like that. Now, I'm going to pull up a picture of what it looks like. And this is just a mock-up of what it actually looks like. It's not the actual picture on the card. It's a picture of a Social Security card. And in the middle of the frame is a homestead or farm or whatever you want to call it. This particular one is 2 acres. You can see, I'll open it up a little bit. There's a farmhouse. There's places for grain. There's places for hay. There's places for cows, some pigs, some chickens. There's an orchard. There's everything you need to be sustainable on your own property. Now, some people may not have property. Some people may live in the city. So wherever you're at right now, it's the time to act, to figure out how you can get to your goal to make sure you're covered for this next event coming up. India's having the worst drought in history. Japan is having the worst flooding in history. They have a flooding on this island, and they're evacuating over 1 million people. California is having earthquakes, and they're just beginning shocks. They're not going to. The geologists say there's a bigger one coming, and they had like a 6.4. All kinds of crazy stuff is going on, and politics and so on. It stacks up, and the pile gets higher and higher. Anything can happen. There's no one thing that that's specific about it, but when one thing happens, the others can fall like dominoes. So. Chip Signal says, looks like a Social Security SSN. I never carry that Social Security number. Is your volume messed up or too low? Can you hear me? I'm going to turn it up a little bit. I think it's yours because I'm up in the yellow range and my mic is like right there. Doc Ferris, hope you're doing well. I got your picture. That was talking about this tonight. You've seen this before. We are Doc Ferris and I are close friends. And I'm having a freezy screen here. There we go. We're back. And I just saw Doc Ferris last week. We had a great time. Let me tell you what happened. I gave Doc Ferris my old fireplace, my old wood stove, and that thing has to weigh 800 pounds. And we carefully put it on the truck. I took it up to his place, and he put it on a boom on a tractor. And this is an older tractor, so it's got some push and give, right? So he's got this 800-pound big metal box on this boom that's being held up by straps, and he's going down the hill, and this thing is swinging back and forth like this. It was so hilarious. You would have been so proud. I was. So, all right. I showed you the front of the card, and so I had a little pause there, but it's a picture of a homestead. And so on the back of this card, there's some writing. There's a few sentences, and then there's a point at the bottom, and that's what we're going to go over tonight. The very first line on the top of this card says, "Homesteading will be your retirement," and that is the title of this whole thing here. Is that homesteading has to be your retirement? It's not. It will be your retirement. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. If you don't prepare now and get a homestead going, I mean, it's the only way you're going to sustain yourself in the future to be able to live a comfortable life on this earth. So, the first point behind that is pensions will no longer exist. And I've got some documents here. Everything I'm talking tonight is verifiable by true facts. I'm not just making this stuff up. We'll go from here. So pensions will no longer exist. A pension, like a 401k, is an account sponsored by a company that matches or in the old days doubled because they paid even more than what you invest and build, and it builds interest in a bigger account collective that collects interest over time. So basically, the money that you put into it, the company will put money that they would otherwise lose into that account, and everybody in the company's going into this account, right? And it's collecting interest. In return, when you left that contract or company, usually a contract of 20 years or so, most people say 20 years is the minimum. That's what it is for the military. Uh, uh, that you serve that particular company, your dedication, your time went to that company, you're going to get a pension from that company, right? They would send you a check equal to the equivalent of your and the company's investment every month. And so they would send you a check every month after you retire to keep you comfortable. This was your retirement. This was your nest egg, so to speak. People relied upon this and actually lived quite comfortably on it when pensions existed. Um, while the whole time, the rest of your money and everyone else's in that pension account accrued interest and made that company usually pretty rich. Anytime that interest comes up, they get that interest back and you just get the same amount every month. So whatever goes above that, if that interest rate goes higher, they'll collect that interest and continue to make money off of it. And in turn, it fluctuates for when it goes down and goes up for the other company investors and people who were a part of that pension, right? The only issue now is there isn't any young people out there willing to give up their earnings for a pension. It's not their fault either. So these people today, right now, will not give up their money that they receive in their paycheck. Uh, this is the reason why cost of living has gone up, and the value of the dollar has gone down. They have to spend what they make just to make ends meet. People live paycheck to paycheck, probably about 80% of the population. I know that I can't go without two paychecks. I try to set myself up to where I can cover down if there's anything that happens to be able to prepare myself to live with less, if that's the case. So it doesn't all just crash at one point. That it just goes down gradually, right? Um, They have to spend what they make just to make ends meet, living paycheck to paycheck. You can thank the Federal Reserve for that one. So the next portion on this card says 401k. Will it be there? Question mark. Probably not. So, like the pension, less and less Americans are willing to give up their money for retirement. We just explained that because they simply can't afford to give any up. This is just a second generation of the pension. So this is the little baby of the pension, right? And this is blown up to a point to where pensions were not meant to be for retirement. It was a tax tax issue that was fixed to make sure that you got taxed at the end of your when you retired. So when you retired, you get to 401k. That's when they tax you interest for income, right? So that's a little tax writing that they made 401ks from, and it blew up from there. It really wasn't supposed to happen the way it was, or the way it did, and the way it is now. Um, so the reason why I bring up pensions and 401ks is because neither of them are meant to last. Neither of them are going to survive the next 30 years. When I say 30 years, I say, well, yeah, 2050. 2050. Uh, 65, I'll be 65 in 2050. I'm not doing the math on that. Anyway, around 2050, I'll be 65. I'll be around retirement age for myself. For those older folks out there, you may not have to worry about this because you are set up in the system now to be covered down by the government for Social Security. And I'll explain more of that in a second. For those that are younger and just right at retirement age, your benefits will go down, but not a whole lot. For those of you who are the working class right now, that's the age between 25 and 50, um, this will totally affect you. And so the next line on this card says inflation. And I'm going to stop here real quick and talk. See what's on the comments here real quick. Sub says, Chip, it's not unusual for me to have this problem on my end. Chip Signal says pensions can be nixed. Chip Signal says get cheap land now. You're really getting to my point. MG Ibarra, I'm still looking for my homestead, looking for cheap land here in Texas. Chip Signal says land can be cheaper than you think. If you have to pay 400 MP now for 50 acres, I'm going to say that's per month for 50 acres. That's still pretty cheap, and you could use something like that as retirement. You don't have to have a 401k. Yes, your company puts interest into it, or they match your incoming money. But in the end, we'll talk about this. It's not going to be worth it. Chip says MP, yep, equals MO. Chip says is better than buying a hoopty. Laugh out loud. So the next line says inflation. $100, and this is a verifiable fact. $100, according to the trends. I'm not going to say it's going to be 100%. $100 in today's money will be worth about $37 in 2050. Let that sink in. It's actually $32 now because it's been updated. I checked that today. $100 will be worth about $32 in today's money in 2050. So that means your $1 million retirement that you spent all your life saving up for is going to be worth about $320,000. Now, let's take taxes off of that because you'll be charged an income tax of anything you take out after retirement as income, right? Your own money, they're going to tax you for that because you didn't pay taxes for it before. So roughly, let's say by that time it's 35%. That's really not that far off of what it is now. So you'll end up with equivalency in 2050 of $226,000 out of that $1 million you saved. That's how much your $1 million is actually going to be worth in 2050. Now tell me you can live a posh life off of that. You can live a decent life off of that. Most of you can say yes because you're on a lower income bracket, but most people are like, there's no way you could live off of $226,000. Even at $30,000, it's not going to last you 10 years, a year. That's not going to last you 10 years. Quite simply, investing in money now is not the answer for sustainable retirement. Can you guess what is? A homestead. Let's dig a little deeper. Social Security benefits will be cut by at least one third, and I'm going to read off the by at least one third. That's the next line on the card. So let's do the math on that. The trust fund for Social Security retirement benefits is expected to be depleted by 2034. Folks, that is roughly 14 years away. That's not that far away. After that, the program is projected to pay only about 75% of its benefits. So, if you live to 2034, everybody will see their Social Security go down. So as that means every dollar they take, and I say they take because we're forced to give Social Security. We have no choice in the matter. We should, but we don't. Every dollar they take from you right now, today, you have no choice in Social Security today. Take a quarter out of that dollar, toss it in the toilet, and just flush it down the drain because you're never going to see it. It's gone, right? But even better, when you start getting Social Security, your own money, when you start getting your own money back that you put into that program because it's going to help you survive when you become of retirement age, they're going to place an income tax on that. And guess what? The overall outcome will be after that for every dollar you are forced to give up today for your benefit in the future, you will only get in 2050, that's my retirement age, 40 cents back. You know what? It's not even 40 cents. Let's not forget the further inflation, because the dollar will only be valued at about 32% of what your dollar is valued today. So that means in the end, for every dollar that I gave today, I will get back roughly 12.8 cents. Does that make sense to anybody here? It irks me and it scares me at the same time. These are verifiable facts, and people need to open their eyes and really look into what they're doing now to preserve for the future. So let's see what's going on here at the chat. So Doc Ferris says to borrow 100 acres for 58,000. That's not horrible. Michael Nelson said, in a grid down, no rule of law situation, land would be very cheap. Chip Siegel says, true, Michael, but it'll be worth what you can protect. MG Abarwa, Doc Ferris, I'm working and it's for the state of Texas. MG Abarwa, I'm hoping that I can get some land through them. Chip Siegel says, 2050, your retirement age. Wow, I'm old. This applies to everybody. And Sub Hillbilly said, you didn't give it, they took it. Absolutely, they took it. I have no choice. They take it. And Chip Siegel says, laugh out loud. So here we are, 2050. This is me anyway. I'm at retirement age, and I have to live off of roughly a quarter of what I've made or what I've invested in money. Nothing's going to have any value. And so it's eye-opening to see the actual numbers. So to me, investing, and I've had conversation after conversation with coworkers, people like, oh, you got to put more money in this, put more money in that. Stocks are going up, blah, 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 blah. In the short term, maybe. But in the long term, it's what you invest in now. Physical things like land, a homestead, food storage, that is going to save your life and your family's lives when the time comes. So, let's continue on. Let me grab a drink here, everybody. And if you hear scratching, it's Elvie. She's scratching at the door. This is the last ticker on here. And I can only fit so much on the back of a card. So this is why I have this here. But these are the, really the 1, 2, 3 top 5 things I could think of that should have a smart person thinking maybe this is not so far-fetched. 45% of the current workforce will be eliminated by automation by not 2050, 2040. So, roughly 20 years, 40% of the entire workforce will be eliminated by automation. Freaky Geek, we are doing well. Here are the top 10 most common jobs today at this time. And the list is huge, right? Top 10. 10, secretaries and admin assistants. Number 9, freight stock and hand material mover or laborers. Number 8, janitor and cleaners. Number 7, customer service representatives. Number 6, waiters and waitresses. Number 5, registered nurses. Number 4, combined food preparation and service workers. Number 3, office clerks. Number 2, cashiers. And number 1, salespeople. Those are the top 10 today. Now, the majority of these, 90%, I would say, of the people that are on this list here, because there's numbers behind of how many people do this in America, will be out of a job. They'll be out of this type of employment for this particular job. These people will be forced to redefine themselves to a more current job or position. That means in the future, they will have to get a job that requires the maintenance of the very thing that removed them from their previous employment. They're going to be working on the things that have already taken their jobs. Excuse me. And if they don't adapt, if they don't make it, they are not going to have enough capital to survive. They're going to have families, brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers. Every individual has people they're in charge of or responsible for, or somebody else is responsible for them. And they're going to lose their job. So what is the one thing that you can have and prepare for before that actually happens, that you can say, hey, there's going to be a roof over my head. There is going to be food in my mouth. And there's going to be safety amongst my people. And the answer is a homestead. You have to plan for a homestead now, because in the future it's not really going to be possible, because the value of the dollar is going to go down so far. So poverty will expand, and the reliance on the government handouts will increase. Along with that, the taxes will increase for those people who are trying to grasp onto the failing American dream. So what is the answer to all this? And the answer is that we must go backwards to move forward. Check our comments real quick. Doc, the cat is doing just fine. Every day, your money's worth less and less. Get out of debt as soon as you can, so the money you do make after you get out of debt, because interest will compile upon that, even though your dollar's getting worse and worse. Get out of debt as soon as you can, so the money you do make after you get out of debt has some value before it all hits the fan. Find a home. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be a trailer. It could be anything. It could be something. As long as it's got a roof over its head, it's fair to say you can call it a home, right? Find a home with at least 2 acres. 2 acres will be the prime number to start with. Hopefully you can expand something bigger than that. The bigger the better. But like was said earlier, when the stuff does hit the fan, you could only land is only going to be as good as much as you can protect, right? So 2 acres is a fair, small enough amount, but a big enough amount to be able to have a proper homestead. But it's small enough to be able to protect in that same right. So find To find a home, find that 2 acres, and make sure it has all the amenities you want in a homestead. There's a water source nearby. Uh, is there a well on the property? Is there a pond? Is there a stream? Is there a spring? Is there a creek? Uh, is the land tillable? Is the land plantable? So on and so forth. Is it zoned for you to be able to have a homestead? If you live in the middle of the city, you're not going to be able to raise chickens, goats, cows, pigs. It's just not going to happen because the residential area doesn't have the proper zoning for farming. So you're looking for RA, which is residential agricultural, or you're looking for an old farmhouse that has an agricultural plot stance or zoning stance, right? Learn homesteading skills now. Use the tools you have before they are no longer available. Doc Ferris and I can attest to this. We both attended the Homesteaders of America conference last year at Front Royal, Virginia, last October. Before the actual conference, they were giving classes on how to do certain things. We learned how to trap. We set up traps, and we learned about animals and predators and how they act and react and everything like that. I've I've killed 2 raccoons. I killed 2 raccoons just last week uh, because they were trying to. We had one attack a turkey, which just they normally don't attack turkeys because the turkeys are normally bigger, but they're about the size right now of large chickens. So one killed a turkey and one killed a chicken by reaching in, pulling in, and whatnot. I trapped those coons because I learned how to do it, and we did that by taking a course. And you have to continue to expand that knowledge because there's one thing that we'll talk about at the end that is more important than the knowledge you have now. So, learn homesteading skills. That's from zero to hero. And there's several books out there. Gosh, that can help you. That you can learn from. Is there any particular one that I would check out? Yes, there is. This is a good one right here. This is the Encyclopedia of Country Living. It tells you how to do exactly everything. It's the original manual for living off the land and doing it yourself. I just happened to pull this as well. This is a laminated plant card showing what plants are edible, what plants are not. But that was because it was attached to the book. Get yourself a book. Just start reading. It's better to be book smart than not smart at all. So then get out there and actually, when you do get a homestead, get out there and actually do it. So far, we've had chickens, we've had ducks, we've had rabbits, we've got turkeys, and the list is going to go on and on because we're going to have goats, we're going to have pigs. We're not going to have a cow, but we're going to use that goat experience as a cow experience, kind of the same, so on and so forth. But we're going to continue to improve our minds to be able to do something if we have to do it ourselves. It's called self-reliance. Now, on the bottom part, it says do the math, right? Do the math. Get out of debt ASAP. Find your retirement home with at least 2 acres ASAP. Learn homesteading skills now. And the final one is make food storage your retirement. Food in the future will not be cheap. It's not going to be cheap at all. Just like inflation goes up, so food prices are going to go up. So, and I'm going to give you some stats here. According to the International Food Policy Research Institute, that's the IPCC, world grain prices will increase a further 30 to 50% over the period between 2019 and 2050. And some people are actually predicting numbers of 110% due to climate change. While meat prices in the same period will increase an additional 20 to 30% at 2050, prices would be expected to increase by 33.1% for corn, 18.4% for rice, and 23.4% for wheat by 2050. Those are some stats there just to let you know what kind of inflation the prices are going to be for food by itself. Our world is not getting any smaller. The population keeps getting bigger. Growing food is becoming more and more difficult because they're not doing it the natural way. The natural cycle of food is this: animals come and eat the food. Animals drop fertilizer on the ground. After animals drop fertilizer on the ground, it feeds the earth and it feeds the food. It grows up again, and the cycle continues. It's a simple cycle, right? That cycle's been ripped out. There's no natural fertilizer involved anymore. It's all chemical based, petroleum based, and this stuff gives you cancer, gives you everything like that. And so they've knocked that cycle out. Apparently, my cat is messing with my stuff here. Um, so there we go. Back up. Messing with my monitor. And so they knocked that cycle out. They've taken out the animal and the natural fertilizer, and so all this nasty fertilizer, these chemicals are just leaching into the earth and not giving anything back in return. So eventually, the plants will reject these things, and it's going to get harder and harder to plant in actual fields until we go back to a natural cycle of things. And so that point was the three things that I said and talked about was corn, rice, and wheat. You can now, at this point, get these three things and save them. You could store them in food storage. Corn may be the most spoilage point of all that. It may last 10 years. But wheat and white rice, not brown rice, white rice can be stored almost indefinitely if you store it correctly. So if you invest in that now or over time, you can actually save yourself money in the future or food in the future if it's not available, and have that sustainment in your retirement. And so everything you need to do is right there. Get out of debt. Find your retirement home or a home with at least 2 acres. You can move up in life. You can move up to a bigger property or whatnot, but have that one set up beforehand. Make that your insurance policy, that you have this place, you have the knowledge, you have everything ready and on standby in case something happens. And then learn your homesteading skills and then make food storage your retirement. I said there was one thing that was more important than anything in the whole wide world about learning your homesteading skills now and learning from our elders and the people who are passing on that are trying to pass this information to you. Our children. These facts, these numbers are not going away. Those are actual facts. Those are actual numbers. Money is going to be worthless. Food is going to be hard to find. And if you don't act now, if you don't teach your kids how to homestead, if you don't teach your kids how to milk an animal, if you don't teach your kids how to feed chickens, butcher, do things like that, old-fashioned things like smoking and whatnot, not smoking cigarettes, smoking meat, and preserving, canning, and doing these things. If you do not teach your children now, they won't have it there in the future. because our society is a dependent society upon the government, and that's exactly what they want. So I want you to think about that and think about if you have kids, I want you send me an email, breakawayhomesteader@gmail.com, and we'll have a little chat session about what 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 you can look forward to in life. And if you have, we live in America, apparently the free state, right? The free country, um, which is not free at all, but we have the best opportunity out of anybody in this world to make this happen for ourselves before it actually does happen. It's inevitable that it is going to happen, and the sad part and the scary part is that this is only one thing. This is what the money's going to look like in the future. That's it. What about all the things that are going on? The other SHTF scenarios they're talking about. If any of that plays a part, it makes this plan right here even harder. It makes it more difficult, and it makes it more important that you do these things. We're at a minimum right now for the solar activity. NASA came out saying that 2005 or 2025 we're supposed to go to a solar maximum, and they're not sure what it's going to bring. Sunspots will come back, CMEs will come out, electricity can go out. If you're a homesteader, you're going to be prepared for any event anybody can throw at you. The only thing you're going to be responsible for is being a good little boy and paying taxes on that property. The last thing you don't want is to be in the middle of nowhere with nothing to sustain yourself and your family. So that was my show tonight. I want to thank you guys for coming out and checking it out. If you came in late, when this post comes up, I want you to go back and watch it. It's very important in my life that, like I said, every day when I wake up, I ask myself, is today going to be the day that something happens? Have I prepared enough in my head, enough knowledge to sustain us if we have to leave, if we have to go someplace like that? Do I know enough people that I could depend on in case something happens? It's not something to joke about. It's not a conspiracy theory. It is the cold hard truth. And with that, uh, Big Bear Homestead says, email me, Doc Ferris. Um, uh, my email address is breakawayhomesteader@gmail.com. If you have any questions, concerns, any comments you want to talk about, if you want to talk privately, feel free to email me. Do it in all caps, that way I can catch it and it gets past my spam filter. So let's read some comments before we go. Big Bear says, Pat, I need to speak to you when you have some free time. Trophy Husband says, hey, Patrick, I've been radio silent for quite some time, but I'm back for the night. Welcome back, Trophy. It's been a long time. Trophy. It's been over a year since we've spoken. There's the Big Bear talking poop. So nothing has changed since I was here last. Laugh out loud. Big Bear says, did you miss me at Doc Ferris? Doc Ferris says, both BBH. Of course I did. Chip says, Pat has a lot to read up on in the chat. Apparently I do. At Big Bear, I need some more traps. And Big Bear, you owe us an anchor. I have a lot of work after this. And Big Bear Homestead posted his email. Feel free to email him too anytime you want, guys. He's a wealth of knowledge. And Big Bear says, I need to talk to you. So I'm going to scroll up here real quick, look at the comments. Because I do not, I'm a dude. I can't do three things at one time. I can only do two things at one time. But I will, Big Bear, I'll contact you right after this live stream. So that's pretty much my show for tonight. I hope you guys got something out of it. Go back, watch it, rewatch it, write some stuff down, make a plan, If you have family members, a spouse or something like that, make a plan. Sit down together and talk about these things. Look up the statistics yourself so you can see with your own eyes and know that it's coming. It's right in our faces. They know that they can tell you the truth right to your face, and you won't do anything about it. But what I want you to do is something about it, not only for you but for your future generations. With that, I'm Patrick from the Breakaway Homestead. I'll be back on Tuesday night next week, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I hope to see you there. And I was talking with Brad from Full Spectrum Survival earlier today, talking about how the summer heat's here, everything's dying. It's kind of a break between now and fall to get some stuff done. So I'll be posting more videos, and so keep your eyes on that. Share and make some friends out there, guys. So with that, I'm signing off. You guys have a good night.